Hello everyone, Trophy Hunter here. Today I'll be showing you how to get custom model weapons into GTA 5 with animations and correct LOD. It's actually really simple to do, although you will need ZModeler, which you have to pay for, unfortunately. It's $4.50 a month. For 3 months it's $11. You get 2 free weeks if you just want to try it out. So if you never had it before on your PC, you can try it for 2 weeks and you'll be able to do everything I'm about to show you, and then you can't. So unfortunately, that's just how it is. Alright, so today I'm going to be taking the ARX 160 here. It's this gun here. And I'm going to be putting it in GTA 5 with animations. I'm actually going to replace the special carbine with it, or the G36, because that's what I used to replace the AR 160 in my Battlefield weapons pack. So I just thought I would just, use the same one. It fit the slot nicely. Alright, so first things first, whenever you have a custom gun, that's your first step, is you want to see what gun it could replace. Now obviously we probably also could replace it with the carbine rifle, but I'm not, because it has the slide here. I would like that to get animated so the player can see that. Also, the bullpup rifle, it's not a good match. At the moment I have an AN90 or A91 over it, but you want to choose the gun that's gonna best replace it. So in my case, it's going to be the special carbine, as you can see here. Also going to be doing the magazine. This is the stock one that comes with GTA. It's very ugly. It's very low res, crappy textures. We're going to be using this actual magazine that's on the gun right now. And I'm not going to make a second model of it optimized. I'm not. If you want to, you can, and I'll show you really quick how you can, but I'm not going to do it. So say you have part of your gun you want to optimize. What you want to do is first make sure that every vertex is welded. If it's not welded, it won't optimize properly, and this one is not. Alright, so when you choose your Pro Optimizer modifier, you want to make sure if this gun already has textures, you want to tick keep textures. If you hit calculate, it'll get rid of your texture UV mapping, which is not good. You don't want that. And then you can drag the slider down in the vertex section, and it will reduce your mesh quality. Say right now I have 38,196 triangles in this model. It's a pretty big model, actually. I did Turbosmooth a couple things. I Turbosmoothed the wires, and I Turbosmoothed this back piece here because it was kind of sharp earlier. It's still kind of sharp. I might actually just push that down a wee bit. It's a little sharp. Okay. Alright, so when you have ZModeler, you want to then take the gun that you're going to replace out of GTA 5. So in my case, special carbine, you want to grab the magazine, the high YDR, and the regular carbine. I've already exported them to the desktop here. So in ZModeler, you want to open them up and make sure that you're activated and stuff so that you can import your YDRs, or else it won't. You want to go to your desktop and choose the low for now. It doesn't matter, actually. I would start with a low personally. Alright, once the low's in, you hit the L0 button up here, and this will show your mesh. And this over here is the hierarchy system that the game uses. So this is not used by the game. The breach is. The trigger, the breach, which is also a part of this up here, which goes back to about here. You want to also keep that in mind. So they attached this. I'm assuming there's one on the other side as well. Yep. So those two parts of the mesh and this up here will get animated, as well as the trigger, and that's it. That's the only parts that are animated on this gun. You want to always check in here to what you need to save out as a certain mesh. Now, this model that I have here uses multiple materials for the entire thing, so I'll be showing you how to deal with that as well, as it's not that simple, but it's not complicated either. So in 3ds Max, what you want to do is, in my case, I have 3 different textures that this gun is going to use. Alright, so for applying your materials, you definitely want to do this before you export your model for ZModeler, because in ZModeler, assigning materials to your geometry is a huge pain in the ass. In 3ds Max, it takes seconds. In there, it can take headaches. So what you want to do is know exactly what parts of your gun use what parts of your texture. And for me, it's fairly simple. Just gotta see what parts I'm dealing with here. That, this, this. And once you have most of your parts, or all the parts selected for your certain material you can simply just choose one of the materials here in the simple material editor. You can give it a new name. I just usually name it the actual gun name. So in my case, this would be ARX160. And then you click this little button here. It says assign material to selection. That's all you gotta do. And then actually, if you want, you can go into diffuse color over here in the map section and assign it that texture, so you can see if it's all that you need. Now it applies everything for some reason to it. So what I do is hide selection, select everything, and give it the next one, which I named this one laser, which actually is something in here. For the moment, I will just give it that. And I also have to add this to the main gun. So that is most certainly part of the main gun. Like that. There we go. Looks like everything is good. It's not too shabby. Alright, so then for the next texture, I know that it uses this. It's basically everything except for the iron sights, so it's pretty straightforward. Just assign this material, I believe it already was, and choose your texture. In my case, it's this. And make sure you enable it to be shown in the viewport. Yep, that looks right. And now the last one, this is the iron sights. And select all your iron sight meshes. And assign that material. I always save repeatedly. It's a very good habit to get into. Back, and voila. Our gun has all the textures. Materials are signed correctly. Everything's looking fantastic. Alright. So what we have to do next is attach everything to gun main bone. Now I always select the middle of the gun, the biggest mesh usually, and I just rename it to gun main bone. It doesn't really matter where you start. Alright, but before you do that, make sure you select your clip. Select your main clip. Call it AAP clip. Once that's named, attach anything else extra you have. Like I have this little mesh here, so attach that to the clip. That's all set. So now it's separate. And like I said, we only have 2 moving parts on this gun. So it's just this. And this. So you can select whichever one you want and call it what it is named in here. You don't have to, but I just like to. It keeps everything very neat. So gun_breech. We'll call this. And attach that other little piece to it. And now that'll move nicely. It should move back like this. Make sure it doesn't clip. The trigger's attached to it. That's alright, we can detach it. So go in here, select the trigger. And detach. We're going to call this gun_trigger_PR. Alright. Yeah, this can go all the way back without clipping through the gun, which is good. Unfortunately, this gun, it doesn't have hardly any geometry on this side. It's mostly just texture. So this doesn't exist on that side, which is where the bullets eject. So we don't have to worry about that. Just worry about this side. And now we got all the main parts out. So we just select the gun main bone, and basically what makes it easy is just hide these 2 things. 3 things if you want to do the clip too. And select the main bone, go to attach, and then just go through here and attach everything. And once you've attached everything, save it out again and unhide everything. Alright. So now at this point, you're all set. You got just 4 objects instead of however many it used to be, if your mesh has a crazy amount of parts. And we're ready to import. Make sure you have CAM's GTA scripts and the DFF importer. You're going to need this to position the gun correctly Believe me, you want to do this in 3ds Max. You do not want to do this in ZModeler. If you have patience, I guess, but I do not. Just grab this special carbine and import it. Once it's imported, I select everything and then deselect the carbine that I imported. And we're gonna now match this gun up to the little guy right there. I usually turn the grid on. It helps to see kind of where you are, since this gun is at like all 0. So just getting it into position and scaling it. It's a little small now. Make it a little bigger. Doesn't have to be 100% perfect at the moment. I actually can scale this up a little more because the sights aren't quite matching up. Probably to about right there. Make sure your grip and your trigger are pretty close. And everything else is just relative. It doesn't matter where the old clip used to be in the gun. The old gun, as long as you don't use the old magazine and you do what I'm doing now, you'll be fine. It'll look good in game. It'll be in the correct position. Alright, so now what you're going to want to do is, if your gun is already orientated the right way, press the L key on your keyboard. That'll put you behind the guns as they are rotated this direction. So now you're looking backwards and you want to line up your sights. I'm gonna get mine right there. Right there. That looks good. And you're just also gonna want to check your grip, as it could clip through this stuff I have on here. Now that might be a problem. We'll have to see in the game if it's going to be a problem. But for right now, I think we'll be okay. And now select your imported mesh from GTA5 and you can delete it. And then again, save. Alright, so now what you're going to want to do is export. Now you're going to want to select everything except the clip exporting right now. So just deselect the clip and go up here, export selected. Not sure if you can do this in the Cinema 4D and Blender. I'm sure you can. I don't see why not. Alright, now I have my folder here. Exporting it to the folder. We're just going to name this exactly what it is, ARX160. And we're exporting it as an OBJ. Now when I export it, I export obviously the materials. You want to create a mat library. The geometry, I always tick this. Triangles, if your mesh is in quads, you're going to want to make sure it exports out as triangles. Texture coordinates tick, normals tick, smoothing groups tick, scale, you want to leave it 1. And all this extra stuff, it should be on default for you. I don't think I changed anything here. So you can just export it. And once that's done, come over to ZModeler and import your mesh. So here, select your mesh, port. It's a big one. All right. That's imported. All we have to do is select the gun main bone of the original gun that was in here, not your imported stuff. And what you're going to want to do is right click it and go down to linking, unlink, and then do it again, linking, unlink children. Same with this, you're going to want to unlink the gun breech, as we have to mess with it. Now, at this point, save the Z3D file. You're going to want to. Again, just save it in that same working folder. Okay. Now for the gun main bone, untick L0 for the minute, and make sure you have the gun main bone, the bold one, selected. Hit this dismiss button here. Okay? It's gonna create this extra little thing here. Want to select it, go to edit, delete. That's the old mesh. We just deleted it. Now come over back to that node. It's a green node. See, I'm turning it off and on. You can see it in the viewports at the top. That's what you want to be selected to. Come down here to this isolate button. Take that. And you want up here in these categories here, you want to be in display and take this little hand button. All right. And then the viewport, in perspective viewport, select this green cube and now select the mesh that you imported. So we want to select this there and select it just like that. That's all doing left clicks. Now what you want to do is do nothing. Unselect this hand tool and unselect isolated. Okay. Once that's done, go back to your little green node. Click convert to compound. Select this little lock button and tick L0. And now select your mesh and drag it up into this box here where default is and drop it. L0 should be bold and default should not be. Untick L0 and default should go bold. You should not see any green nodes with L0 selected. So it looks like we're good. And save. And you're going to want to do this with trigger, which didn't unlink for some reason. Unlink, okay. I'm just going to have to refer back to the file structure to recreate it, which is totally fine. That's what it's there for, the original one. So you can always want to have that backup. Alright, so the next one we'll do is the gun breech, or the slide, whatever you want to call it. You're going to want to untick the lock button. So now we're on gun breech, dismiss it, open this up, and delete the mesh inside. Alright. And once again, on the gun breech node, the green cube, isolated, click the little hand button, select it, and select your breech. Untick the hand button, untick isolated, go back to your green node box, convert it to compound again, lock, L0, gun breech, drag it. Alright, and the trigger, last one. Do the same exact thing again. However many compounds there are with meshes in them, you have to do this as many times as it takes. As you can see, it moves the pivot point. That's the whole point of doing that, or else the animations won't work. Save it again, back to the node, compound lock, L0, drag your mesh into there. Untick lock, untick L0. Actually, you don't have to untick L0, you can leave that. Save it again. And now we got to refer back to the hierarchy of the special carbine, because it was slightly strange. So the gun trigger is separate from the gun main bone. It was not included, so it was under grip R. And the gun breech was underneath this bone. So we want it. Select the gun breech, drag it, and drop it under gun underscore cock 1. Now that that's done, save it again. Drop gun main bone under gun grip R, like so. Select everything except for the trigger and drop it in gun main bone. Save it again, and gun trigger, drop that under gun grip R. Should be down here. Save it out again and make sure that it is exactly in this order. So if I was to not have the gun main bone plussed, this is how it should look, and it's looking good. You can ignore the collision. So yeah, it's looking nice. And make sure that this is also 100% in order. This comes first. And the rest. And yep, everything's good. So we can exit out of that. And now, just untick this. The plus mark, alright, and now it's texture time. So delete all your unwanted materials, everything that was imported when you imported the original GTA5 special carbine in my case. And mine started on here. So we want to click this globe button, GTA5 generic, all the way down to weapon normal spec detail palette. Select that one. Double click the circle and scroll down until you see your texture maps. Now you want to select that and you want to add all your textures. Alright, now that you have all the textures added, select your weapon textures and all that stuff. I'm assuming you know how to do that. But for detail 2, you do not want to use one of your textures. In here, there's going to be one called Environment Smooth Concrete 2. This is always the second detail. I don't know why, it's just what Rockstar uses. The third one is also your diffuse map. Same one. And the bump map and specular map are pretty straightforward. But for mine, I'm not going to use 255. That's too much. I'm going to use about 80% of that. Skip the mask for right now. That has to do with the camos in the game. Select the specular map. And the environment map is also one that was already in here. You're going to find it's env.dds. Hit OK. It's going to look really strange. Take this little box here, go over here, and select spec map. This is basically like in the specular map determines how much of the environment map gets displayed on the mesh. So like that, it's not too bad. It looks really nice. Now I'll just repeat the process for the other remaining materials until everything is done. I will skip until when I'm done. Alright, once your model has been textured, what you're going to want to do next is export it. File export. You're going to want to select the old carbine. Hit export. Do you want to replace it? Yes. Now for the high version, it's actually the easiest thing to do. You just have to rename this to _high. And re-export it again. as the high. And that's that. The gun is now done, but we have to do the clip, which is a little bit more tricky. Reopen your other save of the carbine. So you have it open. You're going to want to try to find the bone called WAP clip. This is what you want. You can unlink this from the chain. Alright. Once it's unlinked, you can delete your gun. And now what you want to do is import the stock clip. Once that's imported, what you're going to want to do is select the bold AAP clip, link, unlink, and then you want to dismiss this and delete the mesh like before. Alright, now once that's done, import your clip that you made. Once you do that, you want to export your clip out of 3ds Max. So select your clip, export selected, and just call it ARX160 clip. Save it with the same settings and navigate to that location. Once it's imported, all you have to do is that's the mesh, this is the new one, and this is the old bone texture, or this is the old bone from the gun. You want this. Alright, what you got to do with this is isolate the WAP clip like this, so you just have the box. And once again, select the hand, select the box, and select your clip, and tick it. Untick isolated, untick the hand, and now you can delete your gun bone that you used to have. Don't need it anymore. Now what you have to do is move your clip over top the center of this, where you see, basically you have to center your clip where the arrows are here. There is a center point, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. All you have to do really is just hide this extra stuff, just so it's not in the way, and drag your clip on the modify tab, hit move, and now you can move it. You're just going to want to move it in the center. You don't want to actually center the clip itself, but the bone that you're dragging here, that you reset using the gun bone. Once that's good, you want to redo this, so up, and make sure that red arrow is on that line, the blue line. Once all the arrows are flush with the blue lines, you're all set to go. Actually, that green arrow is not quite where I want it. Right about there. Alright, once that's centered up, what you're going to want to do is you can unhide everything and save this out as the clip. So ARX160 clip. Okay, and now you can combine the green node with the mesh. So convert the green node to a compound, lock it, and L0, and drag in your mesh. You can untick the lock button, and now move the clip back up into this and above the collision, like so. This is all doing left clicks. And save it again. Okay. Now that that's done, we have to just texture the clip, so delete all the other materials again, and you're going to want the one that it imported when you imported your clip. Which should be the ARX 160. You can delete that, and this one. And repeat the process from texturing the gun before. Select your diffuse, select the smooth concrete as the second one, and the third one once again, the diffuse of the main one. Bump map. I'm not going to use 100% of it. And the spec and environment map. Just like that. And I hit OK and save it. Now this is set to go. Once you're ready to export, just export and replace your default one on the desktop or whatever you saved it to. Now that that's done, want to go over to Open4. I'm assuming you have that installed. If not, my god, what have you been doing? Why are you watching this video? Alright, so you want to find your YDRs. There's one of them, there's the other one, and that one. Yep. Do not want that back. These three. And drag them in. You can check your magazine. I know it's not centered here, but it was properly seated in the gun, which is why I left it where it was in 3ds Max. It's important. It's where it should be. It might not look centered, but trust me, it will work in the game. Check out the gun without the textures. Alright, now in the YTD, delete everything that was in there before and import all your textures. For my case, I'm going to import all the diffuse textures at a low compression. Because I like detail. Okay, and save. Here, we're going to do this too for the clip, except just the ones that you used. So, mag1.ytd, and delete this, and import these three. You can use DXT1 compression, that's fine, it's just a clip. You don't exactly want these textures to be huge. If they are, which in my case they are, there is my clip. Don't have any bullets in it at the minute. That's alright though, this is just for tutorial purposes. And here is the gun. Looking really sharp.